Welcome back to another episode of The Daily Turnup. Thank you so much for joining us. Last episode got over 150, so we're back in the 150 club. Thank you all for that listen. It means the world to us. And CK and I think we have a really interesting, I don't know, exciting is the right word, but very interesting episode today. We predominantly want to focus what's going on in LA and kind of tackle it from all sides. I think it's going to be honestly probably a different perspective than what you're seeing on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, wherever you get your news from, and I'm excited to get into it. But before we do, we opened up Patreon last week, and we had some phenomenal people join the Daily Turnip Club. So thank you so much for joining. Link is in the description if you want to join again. But I think CK has some special shout-outs.
Yeah, Amar, I want to give a shout out to Dr. Irene, probably our most loyal and faithful follower, always commenting, always giving me some tips and really thank you so much for donating. Also want to give a shout out to Katie and Devin Montgomery. You guys are the best, favorite people ever. And then finally, Saddam H. You signed up for Patreon but didn't donate. You and your oil.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you to both of you that joined our Patreon. We appreciate it so much. We have a certain dollar amount that we're trying to reach where it basically pays for this and we don't have to pay out of pocket. So honestly means the world. But if you want to join, you sure can. Also, stickers will be in the mail soon. I promise. All right, CK, let's turn our attention over to LA. And I think there's so much going on that it's really complicated and you might contradict yourself at one point. You may believe one thing, it may contradict another belief that you have. And so we talked for about 30 minutes last night trying to wrap our minds around it. We're just like, is this government overreach? Is Gavin Newsom an idiot? Does he not know how the National Guard works? Is Trump overstepping his power? Are these protests? Are these riots? What is going on? And so I thought a lot about it throughout the day, just trying to make sense of it. Because as you know, CK and I are pretty on brand for a few things. One of them being, keeping national debt low. I think we preach that every episode. And the other thing that him and I are really passionate about is the right to protest, which is our First Amendment right, and state rights. I may be speaking for you a little bit on that, CK.
I got
but
one more.
Go for it.
Term limit, Mitch McConnell.
Yes. Those are like the four things that I think we agree on, like without question. Huge states' rights people, even though I don't think we've talked too much on the podcast about that. But the more I've looked into this, the more that I've seen, try to understand both sides, what's going on. And if you're left, you're obviously more than likely than not supporting Gavin. And if you're on the right side, you're more likely supporting Trump. But when I look at this, and CK, I'll turn it over to you in a second, I don't see protesting. I see riots. And I don't see this as a states' rights issue or even protecting the citizens of the state. It feels these are illegal immigrants. And the reason or how I got to that conclusion is just about every video I've seen, every interview, and I'm looking at the left, I'm looking at the right, trying to get a full view here, is that they're waving Mexican flags. Everyone is waving Mexican flag. And kind of what I'm getting out of the CK is that when ICE was in LA and they're rounding up illegal immigrants like they have in other states and other cities, LA has the largest population of illegal immigrants per capita, or LA County, at almost 2 million. I think it's not a stretch to say, hey, Trump, Tom Holland, very sticking to their word.
Tom Holland.
Thank you, Holman.
Tom Holland is Spider-Man.
I didn't say Holland. I said whatever. Okay, I didn't. Not Spider-Man. But basically saying like, hey, if we rally together now, we will push back ICE and we all won't get deported because we believe Donald Trump will actually do that. So I think it's just a rallying cry for illegal immigrants to a large extent. Yeah, man, those are kind of like my initial thoughts right now. I do want to get into the flip side about government overreach, but that's kind of where I'm leaning. CK, am I nuts on this?
No, I don't think you're nuts. I think the left is crying, despot, authoritarian government, dictator, tyranny. But this isn't unprecedented, Emma. We talked about this last night. Brown versus Board of Education. that that was a Supreme Court case that ruled that you cannot have separate but equal was wrong, right? So
Yep.
schools could no longer be racially segregated.
Yep.
So what did the state of Arkansas do as a result of that Supreme Court ruling? They called in the National Guard to ensure that things stayed segregated. So what did President Eisenhower do at the time? He federalized the National Guard under him and set to ensure that desegregation continued.
Yep.
So looking back, everyone agrees with Eisenhower on this.
Yes.
This is bipartisan. No one disagrees with this. I don't think I found a single person who said this was overreach or this was a problem.
Sure.
Everyone's like,
Yep.
you know, ending racism or combating racism, and this is a natural and good move by the federal government. So again, the question isn't, is it precedent? Does Trump have the right to do it? It's, do you agree with what he's doing? And that's where the nuance comes and the debate comes. And I could hear your argument, but the argument that it's authoritarian and unprecedented, I think is garbage.
Interesting. See, I maybe in the moment, but I think it can definitely get there. But before I dive down that rabbit hole, I want to continue to look at the Californian leadership and how they've handled this. I think just about every single American that lives outside California thinks that California, to some extent, is horrifically run. The way they run the economy, the way they deal with most policies, it's just really, really poorly run, which is why you have major Fortune 500 companies moving their headquarters out, which is why they're projected to lose four seats in Congress, and they're going to lose electoral vote power because so many people are moving out, predominantly moving to Texas. And I also believe people act in their best interest the vast majority of the time. And I think Gavin Newsom is no different. So I've seen a couple of his interviews now. One interview, he was saying, "Hey, Trump, arrest me. Like, you're just a big bully. Come and arrest me. You won't." And he's speaking from a position of power because Trump's not going to arrest him for a million different reasons. So he can kind of say what he wants, act as a tough guy to Trump because he knows Trump is not going to arrest him. The other thing Gavin was saying is that, and he took pictures of the National Guard soldiers sleeping on floors and chairs and just not in ideal conditions. If you read the comments, all the people that were in the military that deployed to be like, "Yep, this is awesome. They have air conditioning. Like, this isn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you do. Like, welcome to the military. It sucks sometimes." But also, Gavin's just taking shots at Trump, saying, "You're not providing food. You're not providing quality shelter for them. You're not taking care of them." And it's like, Gavin, the National Guard reports to you, and you are not taking care of them, and you're not taking care of them because you rather say F you to Trump. You rather try and paint Trump as the bad person than take care of your own National Guard for your state. And I think that just speaks volumes of just how horrible of a politician he is. Granted, both you and I view literally every politician as horrible. So maybe that doesn't mean a whole lot. But I think that this instance is going to hurt him a lot when he runs for president in like 2 years when they start the campaigns.
Yeah, Mr. I'll play devil's advocate.
Go for it. Go for it.
I'll disclaimer because I do not like Gavin Newsom. I almost use the Trump nickname Newscum. But the argument, if you are pro Newsom and pro California, is that California has their GDP by as a state is 4.1 trillion. If they were a country, that'd be the fourth biggest in the world. It'd be the U.S., China, Germany, and then California.
Yep.
So, I mean, maybe they're doing something right. In terms of federal taxes, annually they come in at number one. It's the most taxes. And also, I mean, you could just point to Silicon Valley and the tech revolution coming out of California, and it begs the question, why isn't it come out of Texas or Florida or Alabama or a red state? Why do all of these new startups flock to California? So maybe they're doing something right.
I mean, sometimes it's being in the right spot and being on a coastal city with an amazing landscape. You got the mountains, you got forest, you have beaches, you have it all. But if you take out Silicon Valley, those companies leave, which a lot are doing. then their economy falls apart. I think we joked around and be like, California, they want to go become their own state. Well, if California became their own state, every major company would leave California and move somewhere in the United States because they're American companies. And then the United States would tariff the heck out of them and make it so no one can trade with them. And then the state would implode. So it's not like they're sitting on an insane amount of oil like Saudi Arabia or Qatar, where these small geographical areas can be their own state. They are there because of capital, because of the American economy, because of American laws and the culture of America. There's I don't know if there's an argument that there's anything innately great about California. I think there's reasons why Silicon Valley happened the way that it did, but if they were to leave the United States, it's not like they could have a thriving economy.
I probably disagree. I mean, obviously, if they left and we started an immediate trade war, we could do damage to them. But they have, I think, the most farmland out of any state in the country because they're so big. And
Yeah, where are they getting
not,
all their water from, right? For these farms. So that's the thing. They're so dependent on the United States, hence every state, that if you were to leave, you're going to implode.
Yeah, maybe so, maybe so. But back to the point.
We digress.
That, the question is, was it overreach for Trump, or was it, Newsom failed to do his job? I think when you look at what's happening, it looks coordinated. It looks paid for. You have, mysterious unmarked vans dropping off gas masks and other things.
Yep, seen that.
You have foreign flags flying, and and it's anything but peaceful. And the media will infamously say mostly peaceful, which means that only few cops are getting their cars bricked, and only a few buildings are getting burned to the ground, and only a few businesses are getting looted.
Would you argue, or could you argue, that it is in Democrats' best interest to keep illegal immigrants in California and to do everything possible to push back ICE, push back Trump and the federal government? And the reason I'm saying that is LA has the highest, or LA County has the highest population of legal immigrants at almost 2 million. They all vote Democrat. And that if they were to leave, not only would California lose more congressional seats, it would also not vote as heavily left as it does. It may still win left, but it would lose millions of votes. So with that
The
being said, it seems
conspiracy is
that,
that they vote, right?
well,
There's
I
not
don't think that's a
not.
conspiracy. That's like a fact.
I don't think so. I'll push back there.
Okay, push back.
I mean, if you ask me if I had if we knew everything, are they voting? Probably. But do we have proof that they're voting? I don't think we do.
Okay, is
However,
it a conspiracy to say that their population counts into California's population, which gives them more congressional votes than other states?
that is the first step of the plan, is that you flood these illegal immigrants into any swing state, plus places like California. And when the census counts total population, that factors into how many congressional seats you get as a state.
Yeah.
So that's not a conspiracy, that's a fact. And that is definitely happening. I think part two, which would have happened if Kamala won, was amnesty and automatic citizenship to all the illegals currently in.
Like Reagan?
Yeah, that was what I was about to say.
Oh, okay.
Reagan infamously did that, and California never went red again.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I think we spent a solid 10 minutes taking one side. Now, if we looked at the other, where it comes to government overreach, and can Trump do what he's doing? So, like you spoke earlier, this isn't the first time the federal government has activated National Guard, nor is it the first time that they've brought in Marines. I believe they brought them in 1992 during the Rodney King riots
Yeah, I was
as
about to
well.
say, L.A. especially has gotten a National Guard call on them a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I would argue pretty convincingly that there is not government overreach yet. I think there is definitely a slippery slope when you are bypassing the governor who the National Guard reports to, bringing in active duty military and ensuring that they fit the correct role. And I think things can get out of hand very, very quickly, which would change the entire power dynamic and how people think and feel. Meaning, now I don't think this will happen. Just disclaimer, but to give an example, that if there was 200 people and the Marines came in and 200 people were over running the Marines position, they killed one Marine, like they see it, and they open fire and they kill 200 people, and let's say half of them are illegal and the other half aren't, right? Now you completely change the entire narrative to active duty military killing civilians, legal civilians that have been here for generations or whatever. And I think you just really start teetering that line to, okay, what is the government doing? Right?
MR,
How far can they go?
the slippery slope has been seen throughout history. I mean, what if Trump all of a sudden, not saying he would do this, but what if he said that Jews were a threat to democracy, and he
Yeah,
called
you
in
wouldn't be the first
special
person.
and he's called in special forces to in the middle of the night to go capture them and imprison them. You know, just
I
because the
mean, we
president
did that in the 1940s with the Japanese.
Erdogan in Turkey in 2018 said we have a coup, and I am using air
Yep, I
quotes,
remember that.
and be, said the opposition party has tried to overthrow me, and overnight, anyone against him, uh, i- in both politics and in like military officers, he arrested and threw in prison overnight. So,
Yep. So to that point though, right? Because that's the scary point. With everyone rioting and everything happening, at some point it's going to calm down. I personally, and we could be wrong, but so far we've been phenomenal at predicting every event that's happened so far. Someone should open up a Polymart on this podcast. You'd make so much money. Um, that I don't think this will spread. I don't think it'll be like the Arab Spring, when the man lit himself on fire and the whole Arab Revolution happened throughout all the countries. That was like back in like 2012, maybe. Where it's going to spread to other cities. I know there's protesting going in other cities, but not to this extent. I don't think that is going to happen. I think it'll calm down in the coming days. But every person that rioted, every person that got caught on camera doing some illegal act, the technology exists. Didn't Edward Snowden come out and basically say it existed where, the government sees your face, they're going to find all the information on you. And then over the next couple weeks and months and however long it takes, in the middle of the night, ICE is just going to pick them off one by one. And when I think like that, it makes me think, are we or would this be anything different than the KGB in Russia? Just in the middle of the night, people just start disappearing that disagree with the government. Right now, it's illegal people that did violent crimes or broke the law a second or third time. So right now it's justified, but that's the slippery slope. Like, how far will you go to justify the actions that you take?
yeah, and I will say, even the most ardent libertarian would argue that the government's sole job is to protect life, liberty, and property. And so when you're
Yep.
destroying property and when you're violent and risking other people's lives, that's when a government should step in and protect the people and their individual rights.
Yep. No, I agree. Now, I talked to some of my liberal friends to like get an idea, like what their mindset is. I think this podcast, I think more conservatives listen to this podcast than liberals, but I know we have a few out there. And so one of the arguments, so again, if you don't agree with what I'm about to say, please leave a comment. That would be awesome. But a lot of arguments I hear is like, hey, the reason why illegal immigration is okay is that they want a better life for themselves. They want better opportunities. You would do the same if you were in their position. And then I always hear the famous line, well, who's gonna get our food? Who's gonna go to the field? And I'm like, are you okay with like indentured servitude? Is that the argument you're really going to use here? Because that's like the least liberal thing there is. Like, modern day slavery, pay someone
And
a dollar an hour.
it was the exact same argument that the South made: is who's going to pick our cotton now?
Exactly, right. And so, oh, dude, I just lost my train of thought because you said that. What was my first point I made?
People are just searching for a better life, MR. I think that's a valid point. And That's why I would say if I was President Trump, that I would conduct myself and enforce illegal immigration with a lot of prejudice. And I think he's trying, but the media is spinning. I think he's right. If you are illegal and commit a felony, then you should probably go.
Yes.
If you're a 16-year-old who came here illegally because your parents brought you here when you're 5 and you've done nothing wrong and you're just trying to make it to high school, hopefully graduate and go to college, I don't think, that I, I don't think that's going to be a big problem. And most people, like we talk about a lot, the 90-10 issues. This is
Yep.
a 90-10 issue. Deport illegals with felonies. That's 90-10 will say that's a good idea. Deport a high school kid who came here when he's 5 and has done nothing wrong, is just trying to make a better life for himself. 90-10 will say, don't do that. That's a bad idea.
Yep. No, I agree with what you're saying, and that just reminded me of what I wanted to say is that so the United States immigration system gets criticized a lot, but I don't think a lot of people actually know or look through a lens of like if you look at the United States as an ecosystem, not just economically, but think of all of our systems in place, whether it's the school system, the housing market, our healthcare system, everything. It is an ecosystem and it requires significant balance. If there's too many people sick like COVID, the hospitals get overrun. If there's too many people that move in, there's a housing crisis because no one can afford a house, right? So it has to be it has to be in equilibrium for it to function and work. And the way that the United States' immigration system works now is that whoever smart people and whatever part of the government has said, hey, we can accept X amount of people every year. And what the United States does is they do the brain dump. They'll take the smartest people from other countries, bring them to the United States, which is why we create 90% of everything the world uses. And we try and cherry pick the best of the best from other countries. We also do lottery systems in other countries. Like I know people that were in the lottery system in their country. Instead of winning like $1 million, they wanted an opportunity to become American citizens and move to America. Like those are real things. And there's a lot of other programs too, where the United States is. I'm gonna throw out a bullshit number, but we need to bring in 100,000 people this year. And they go through all their process to bring in the right people into the United States. When you bring people in illegally and you're talking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, it throws off the entire equilibrium. And so you have people coming over to America that they may have had the best intentions. They may have been running from the cartels, but they're now they may not be dying, but they're also in a very bad situation where the United States is the ecosystem cannot support them and give them opportunity. They live on the streets, they get wrapped up in the wrong crowds, they join gangs, and they become a menace to society. And it's kind of almost a self fulfilling cycle. And that's why I think if the argument is we need to accept more people and we can't just accept the best of the best, that we need to be fair and give everyone the opportunity. I think that's a strong argument. But to open up the floodgates and be like they want a better life, so we should give it to them. I do not think that is good for the long term health of the country. And I don't think the country can sustain that.
Yeah, Amar, I think the ecosystem analogy is a good point. A good doctor will try to look at the root cause, not just the symptoms. If you say, "Oh, I don't feel good," and the doctor says, "Here's a pill to make you feel better." "Oh, I have brain fog. Here's a pill to make you think clearer." A
Yep.
good doctor will say, "Let me do some tests. Oh, identify, oh, you have a tumor here. Let me get rid of this tumor. That's causing all the other symptoms."
Yep.
Right now, we have a welfare state. We have the United States where you can come here illegally or legally or whatever, contribute nothing to society, and you get medical, you get so many programs, Social Security. There's so many benefits to just showing up.
Yep.
And when you give away free things, you have an infinite amount of takers and a finite amount of givers.
Correct. Yeah.
And soon that becomes, a math problem that you can't win. And so when we talk about illegal immigration, that is a symptom of the root cause of us being a welfare state, of just giving away free subsidies and we only have a finite amount of taxpayers, and we have an infinite amount of people who want to leech.
Yep. Or
So
they
if
just
we,
think the United States is a better option, which probably
but
is if the
but
cartel's trying
if
to
we
kill you.
weren't giving away so many things, illegal immigration wouldn't be a problem. The people who came here would be coming here truly for a better life and not for a handout.
I think that's fair. I also believe, like, very strongly that if we want to stop illegal immigration, like really stop it, we would have to really partner with Mexico, help push back the cartels, and help build a strong Mexico. A strong Mexico would deter anyone from trying to enter America, just like Canadians aren't sneaking into America as well. But I'm going to pause real quick, CK, because your lights are turned off and it's like really freaked me out. Like, I can't see you, but I can hear you, and like sometimes your face appears, and it's just really weird.
It was good before the sun went down.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Oh, there we go. Yeah, obviously CK and I, we don't video our podcast, but we do look at each other when we do it, so like it makes it easier to have a conversation. And he was dark for like the last like 10 minutes. I was like, what is going on?
Sorry about that.
Okay, so let's wrap it up here because I think we've talked a good amount of LA. But before we do, what are your final thoughts? Where do you think this is going to end? And do you think that the riots are justified for their means, or do you think, hey, not justified, and this is how it's going to end?
I don't think the Democrats actually care. I think they're trying to get political traction. And so I think for Trump, he needs to tread lightly because the second, a baby gets accidentally a stray bullet or whatever, they're going to jump on that. That's all they're looking for. If you're Gavin Newsom or Raskin, Jamie Raskin, or any of the other guys, AOC, they're waiting for a stray bullet to catch an innocent person so that they can jump on this and rally the base.
Yeah, I would say the inverse as well. I think they're waiting for a few cops to die, a National Guard and Marine to die, and it'll give them free reign to do what they need to protect the order. And that's the thing with politics, and that's when you have to almost take off your politically biased hat and just look at it very objectively. If my side wants to achieve its means, what do they need to do that? And they may do it themselves to get to their means. That's the scary thing about politics. Well, you can't always trust your government, I guess. But no, I like it, CK. But I'm in the thought process where I think this will be, in the end, an isolated issue. I think there'll be small protests across other cities, but won't gain the same level of traction. And it will allow ICE to gain more power, and they will continue to round people up in greater numbers, in less visibility, take a lot of lessons learned, and you're going to start seeing a lot more illegal immigrants. Wow, what's the word? Deported? Yes, there we go.
That is the
But
word.
yeah, that was a struggle. All right, I want to move to the next one, which is Greta. How do you say your last name? Thornburg?
Thunberg, yeah.
Thunberg. Okay. So Greta, with a bunch of other, some high profile individuals, basically got a small, well, like a, not a yacht, like a sailing vessel, I think, or a boat. It's not that big. It can fit like 10 people or something like that on. And they're going, I think, what, from Italy to Israel or to Palestine to bring aid to Palestine. And their entire thing that they are saying is like, hey, we're videotaping this entire thing. We just want to bring awareness. We understand that this aid is not going to be life changing to the Gazan people, but we want to bring as much awareness as we possibly can. I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago. I guess it's relative to when you listen to this podcast. They got pulled off the shore by the Israeli Navy or someone in Israel, and basically,
Israeli Defense Forces, right?
thank you. And there's like, hey, we're seizing your vessel. We're going to take you guys all through processing, and then we're going to bring you back to your home country. And so, CK, when I saw that whole thing unfold, maybe I'm becoming more cynical, but at no point did I ever think that they had good intentions. Now, not once in my life did I ever think negatively of Greta. Like, I'm actually very personally a very big climate activist. Like, I believe global warming is the thing. I think we need to take care of the planet. Call me a leftist on that. I'll probably wear that cap. And I never thought Greta did anything wrong. Was she an expert? No, but did she rally people, and did she kind of stay within her wheelhouse, being 11, 12 years old, talking generically and people just gravitated towards it, right? It's not like she was writing policy. It's not like she was doing anything and it made sense. I think now, I think it's very clear that no one cares about the environment, like at least for like the last year or two. It's not any news anywhere you can find on the front page, second or third page. And I just think this is a very vain act. And like, hey, how can I become relevant again? How can I become popular? Let me videotape the entire thing. We know this aid's not going to make it. Like, there's a 0% chance if you're broadcasting your exact location, you think Israel's going to be like, oh, yeah, you can go right on the shore. We're going to let you. It, to me, it just screams, I want to be famous. I want to write a book one day about this. I want to be in a movie about this one day. And to me, I just, man, all the good in your life just is just like thrown away because you only care about yourself.
Yeah, Mr. Let me address your first point. How the green movement kind of went away, and now migration and Gaza and Israel is the new. I think I brought that up in a CK conspiracy corner last week.
I think you did.
It's weird how these movements aren't just like at a national movement; they're global movements. It's almost
Yes.
like
Yes.
someone is puppeteering them.
Oh, you don't say.
It's almost like no one's talking about the green movement anymore because the puppet master said that's not the issue anymore. Let's rally the base about migration and refugees and Gaza and Mexico and everybody else and flood, other nations, Western world with immigrants.
Yep.
And all that being said, because Greta has jumped ship, no pun intended, um, from the green movement to this immigrant and refugee movement, I have always kind of respected Greta. I'm not gonna lie, like, do I think
I never had an issue with her when she was 11 years old speaking to nations and people were listening. Like, I'm like, yo, that's actually badass. As an 11, 12-year-old doing that is incredible.
I mean, I'll be honest, that's not even the reason I respected her, because like I just thought, oh, she's a shill for the parents are ruining their child by just making them like the spotlight, like Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen,
Sure,
like
Lindsay Lohan. Name a child. Justin Bieber
yeah,
right now.
using their
Name one.
kid for a spotlight to become famous. I didn't even what I respected was like she would go to these climate summits by boat when she was a kid. And you no, seriously. And
No, you're right.
you had John Kerry and Liz Warren and all these other especially the American climate activists. They would fly their private jet and spend, a lot of gallons of gasoline and JP8 and whatever else to fly and then preach how, we were being, dishonest with how we were spending energy and yada yada yada. And Greta like took a sailboat. And
Yep.
no matter what I agree or disagree like with what your belief, I respect someone who actually has the conviction and isn't a hypocrite. Like, I think that's the worst thing about today's day and age is that almost every politician and every actual activist is just a hypocrite, and they're in it for the power and the money. And
Yep.
I respect anyone who actually believes, even if it's a psycho belief. If you actually believe something and will follow through and like you're not hypocritical about it, you're not doing it for different means, you get a little place in my heart for that.
I can respect that. I get that. But let's like define psycho as not harming or hurting other people.
Yeah, even that. I'll just say like at least you believe like the shit you're spewing.
Fair enough.
It's like 1%. Like you can
But do you
be
think I'm crazy here? I know this isn't like the hottest topic, but I saw that and it's getting all this press and it just rubs me the wrong way. You're trying to take a very highly political global issue and it's just vanity. It's like the highest level of vanity and I do not like that at all. It just bothers me. Maybe it
maybe
bothers me an irrational amount.
there's a little piece of me that thinks that she's doing it for the right reasons.
What's the right reason? What noble thing could she get out of this? It's not bringing awareness. Trust me, there's so much awareness of what's going on there. It's insane.
I think it is bringing awareness.
How much, on a scale outside of this podcast, how much more awareness compared to what's going on in Gaza and Israel? It's literally been the talk for the last 2 years.
Yeah, but the talk has been very divided, right? If 50% think Israel is completely just in what they're doing, and 50% think that the Gazans are getting mistreated and are pretty much in like a
No, you only
Holocaust.
think you think only 50% of the people think that. I would argue that the vast majority of the people think the Gazans are getting mistreated, but in the
I
same
think
breath of that, people believe the what's the expression? The means justify the end.
sure. So say it's 50% think that like this is the necessary result of what's happening because they're pro-Israel, and
Yeah,
50%
yeah.
think this is unjustified.
But I don't think they're I don't think those people that believe the ends justify the means also think that this is humanitarian. I think they know what they're doing and they can live with that.
I respect it as a conservative who is also think that Israel is committing atrocities more than they should, right? Maybe some of it is necessary, but also are they looking the other way on a lot of things? I think for sure they are. Um, so as someone who can see both sides of this, I really don't know where I stand fully on this issue. Part of me
Okay.
thinks that you know maybe it's a good thing.
Is it bad not to have an opinion about everything? Think about it. There's an essentially an unlimited amount of things going on in the world, whether it's in your personal life, your family's life, your third party's life, like your friends and family, like your more extended people. Then you have all these political issues that, by the way, you have no factor in whatsoever. Regardless of what you believe, your opinion in Israel and Gaza is going to make absolutely no difference. So
Sure,
is it really bad if you don't have an opinion about it?
I don't know if it's a bad thing, Mr. I think like as a what would Plato and Socrates say? Like I can I might not be able to affect it, but to be able to like think about it rationally and then formulate opinion. I think everyone can formulate their opinion on it. And you you can say, "Hey, I don't know enough about it, but given what I know, this is what I think."
Sure, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I also think it's fine saying, like, hey, I don't have an opinion because there's too much going on and I don't have enough information. So I'm not even going to care about this issue.
Yeah,
Dude,
maybe.
I can name some random ass shit right now that is important to a large population. And you probably have little or no idea what's going on there because you don't have the information. One, you don't have the bandwidth. Two, you didn't even know it was an issue. So how can you know about something you don't know about? And you're like,
You can
oh,
give it
yeah,
to
I
me,
guess.
MR. I'll give you an opinion right now.
All right. How do you feel about the mistreatment in Zimbabwe?
Zimbabwe is crushing. Actually, I know a lot about Zimbabwe, so that was
Dude,
wrong.
I just made that up. I don't even know what's going on in
Robert
Zimbabwe. That's my point.
Mugabe.
I don't know anything.
Mugabe is the devil.
Oh shit. All right. How about the Uyghur Muslims out in China? That's not
China's
talked
the
about
devil.
anymore.
Someone's the devil in every opinion, MR.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, CK, any last words before we wrap it up?
No, continue to support. We love you. MR, I just took the next step in my conservative podcaster evolution. I started jujitsu.
Okay, Joe Rogan.
Yeah. They don't tell you that when, in order to learn self-defense against a hypothetical opponent that you might face somewhere down the line, all you have to do is just get your ass beat 1,000 times.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. I don't think I've made. Well, I'm definitely not gonna make that leap. My body is broken. I go to physical therapy now because it's so broken. So that is definitely not my journey, but I'm happy it's yours. If we ever, if we're ever together, and we're about to get in a fight, I'm gonna really rely on you for that one.
Deal, MR.
Oh, well, CK, this was definitely a fun discussion, and only time will tell how LA turns out, what the ripple effects of that are, and the ripple effects will go on for years and years. when it comes to Gavin's run for presidency, which he's already positioned himself very heavily to run. And if you do polls, he'd probably be one of the top 3 leading candidates for that. And so I don't know, man. I think it's wild what's going to happen there. And just, dude, there's never a dull day in the Trump administration. And honestly, we should get a bingo card because LA riots on there. I mean, that would have been a good little square on the bingo card. It really would have. But everyone, just want to thank you so much for listening to the end of this episode. Thank you to the 150 that listened to this. It is all, we do it all for you. If you haven't already, please donate to the Patreon. You can get cool stickers for those that you that did. Thank you so much. It means the world. Like I said, we're trying to get to a certain number amount so we can fund the actual software and everything we do to actually do this. Also hit the subscribe button, the like button, and tell all your friends to, join us. It's a fun time, I hope. All right, enough of that. Hope you all have a great day.